Hello everyone. It's been quite some time. I'm sure many of you have been wondering what happened. What happened to the Wizard Factory? Why did we stop putting out content? So the purpose of this video is to explain that in a very simple, straightforward kind of way. The past couple of years have been extremely challenging for me personally for multiple reasons. Many of which I will be not discussing in this video as it's not relevant and more just to do with my personal life. My intention with making this video is simply to inform you, the viewer, as to what happened. It is not to start a flame war, it's not to be inflammatory, it's not to stir up a bunch of drama. I just feel that you, the audience, deserve to know what happened. So I'm just going to give that explanation here. I want to do this just once in this video, so I don't want to keep reliving this, explaining it over and over again. I'm going to make this video once, and then anyone who wants to know what happens, you can just refer back and watch this video. And Brian, if you do watch this, which it's quite possible that you will, this is just my honest view of the truth of what happened. Again, this isn't an attack on you. This is not about you and me at all. It's about posterity of the channel and providing context for the changes that are happening. And my plan is to just stick to the facts and explain this objectively to the best of my ability, from my point of view, obviously. So what happened? Let's go back to the beginning. So the Wizard Factory was formed in early 2019. The idea came about actually as a spiritual retreat idea, and then it sort of developed from there. From the beginning, the foundation was formed around our free content, but at the same time, we were planning on building it as a business around retreats, services, courses, things like that. By the end of that year, I decided to quit trucking. There were multiple reasons that went into this, but a large portion of that was that I wanted to give more time to building the platform that I was able to give. That alone was a great leap of faith and a big sacrifice. Trucking was a great, very financially secure job. I took a risk on that by kind of going after my deeper desires, my purpose. And over those 2.5 years, I more or less built the platform. Yes, Brian did help a lot with the brainstorming and the recording of the content, and he did bring a ton of knowledge to the table regarding astrology, the runes, mythology. I want to give credit where credit is due there, and I do not want to understate that. He taught me most of what I knew about those things, and I was truly appreciative and inquisitive to learn more. Now, I showed up to all those same brainstorms and recording sessions just like he did. That's the fun part about making a channel. But on the back end, and I'm sure many of you aren't content creators, aren't fully aware of what all actually goes into this kind of thing and how much work it is. I was the one editing all the videos, all the podcasts, all the courses, virtually all the graphic design, the thumbnail, the logo, the slides, intro and outro animations. I built and rebuilt the website and continually updated it, building the email list, automation, marketing, and content strategy. I created and set up all the social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the groups, the Discord, the Inner Sanctum, the Patreon, came up with all the tiers and all the features, all the channels within the Discord, uploaded the content, filled in all the metadata, the description, the tags, optimizing, responding to the majority of the comments, designed the merch. There's actually a whole store of unreleased products that I designed. Developed a full task management and data storage, informational storage system, and an entire live show, the graphical interface, all of the programmable controls. We're talking about thousands of hours I put into it. That's not an exaggeration. As well as spent many hours trying to teach him those skills as well, and taught him most of what he knew about those things, to which he knew next to nothing when we began. I tried to delegate as much as I could, but much of what I was doing, he was not able to recreate the same level of quality, and the rest he was constantly ignoring, neglecting, or pushed back on when I tried to get him to carry more weight and to do more of the back end work that I was constantly doing that was keeping things going. Right to the very end, this was the case. Even as I had spent months building that live show, despite the hell that I was going through at the time, and he was nothing but irritated that it took so long and that there were bugs and issues trying to get sorted out, while contributing literally zero to that process. It just felt like constantly pulling teeth to try to get him to meet me halfway. Now, over time, Brian had his own journey of being in a toxic and abusive relationship with his son's mother, becoming a father that had its own, obligations and sacrifice of time and attention, then living with that ex who literally wouldn't even let him work, constantly tormenting him. Then he was living in a tent, and then he moved to this cabin that didn't even have internet. I mean, it was just one thing after another that was preventing him from being 100% as well. And through that time, I was very patient and understanding and supportive of him. Then over the course of 2021, I went through one of the hardest periods of my life that I've ever gone through. But during this time, I confided in him my most vulnerable self. I shared everything about what I was going through. He was my support system at that time, or so I thought. And while I was thinking he had my back through all of that, he was quietly building his own different perception of me based on judgments, misunderstandings, false ideas of me and my situation. After he himself had gone through many of the same things, the same challenges, which I supported him through. Then in October of last year, after 2 years of building for the future of the business and the platform, after I spent weeks prepping the new show and doing 2 episodes you can go back and watch, he tells me he's going to be stepping back from the Wizard Factory. He said it was so he could focus on doing his own astrology channel. We had already talked about that, and I thought it was a good idea. I was fully supportive and encouraging of him to do that, because as time was going on, that became his primary interest, and all he ever talked about was astrology or how things relate to astrology. And this was never an astrology channel. There was an aspect of that, and I have a deep appreciation of the science of it. But I thought it was healthy for him to have his own channel that he had control of creatively and an outlet for all that other content that he wanted to make. But his reasoning just didn't add up to me. And when I questioned him about it on this call, things got heated because I wasn't buying the bullshit that he was trying to feed me. And things escalated. He called me a bunch of names and got really nasty. And that was the end of it. And that's the last time we actually have spoken since. So when I tell Susan what had happened, she sits me down and informs me that days ago, before that, he had secretly set up a call with her under the false guise of some kind of astrology consultation, which again, I was encouraging of that. That's what I assumed that they were talking about, was astrology stuff. When in actuality, he had spent hours on the phone telling her all this stuff that he had been building up in his own mind, his skewed perception of things and things he had no business saying, and most of which were not true, or some sort of twisted version of the truth. He gave all these justifications for it, like how he was the one that brought all the knowledge to the table, and how he could have done the channel without me, and that all I cared about was, being flashy and making things look good instead of the quality of the content itself. even tried to blame me for why we weren't putting out more content. Yes, my relationship struggles did make it much more difficult to get things done, and I was moving at a much slower pace than I would have liked. But in fact, he had access to all the channels, and I was even encouraging him to make videos on his own and put them out. And there are a lot of other minutiae that I could add here that would validate and reinforce my points, but I really don't want to get too caught up in all the little details. My main point and takeaway is just this. It's fine that he had a different perception of things. It's fine that he had issues with choices I was making and how things were going with the Wizard Factory. He should have just been honest and straightforward about that. As a true friend, that's what a true friend would have done, was been honest even when you disagree and say, hey, this is how I feel. Not keeping it all to yourself and then stabbing your best friend in the back and leaving everything in just a big pile of smoldering ruin. And that did really damage my ability to trust in general. It kind of jaded me about people and relationships in general. It didn't help that my romantic relationship was ending at the same exact time as that. Felt like everything was just crashing down around me. Now, I've come a long way in my growth and in my healing after all of that. I do accept what happened, but I don't respect the way that it was done. Ultimately, it was a huge betrayal by someone who I thought was my best friend. But I refuse to be a victim and to wallow in it. I'm going to take the lessons. I'm going to take responsibility for the shit that was mine. I chose to trust him. I chose to put so much faith in the partnership, the business, and expecting him to contribute more. And he showed me many times that it was not an equal partnership. I fully own that, and I'm taking those lessons to heart. And I'm committed to reforming this platform as a solo project and making it better than it ever was before. So what's next for the Wizard Factory? Well, my first goal is to simply get back to a place of creating content consistently and of high quality, which was already my priority before all of this happened. Ironically, my experience, my workflow won't actually change that much other than not having his help with content ideas and not having to compromise on how I want to do things. My main focus will be on the podcast, as well as other peripheral videos on the YouTube channel and getting frequent content on the social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So if you're not followed those channels as of now, I would love it if you went and did that. I'm going to be posting a lot there. I've got lots of great ideas and lots of great interviews lined up. The website, once again, needs a massive overhaul, as the context to which much of that has completely changed, and I will not be featuring anything Brian was offering via courses and services. So all of that's going to be updated, as well as finally posting that merch shop with a lot of really great designs that I'm very excited to reveal. I'm also going to be remaking the initiation package and the rune course, respectively. And I've got lots of other things planned, but taking lessons from the past, my new approach is to underpromise and overdeliver instead of trying to hype things up and then getting caught up with the challenges of life for one reason or another and failing to follow through with that. So I'm just going to be focusing on taking things one step at a time and following through with those. So now you know the story of what happened. I leave it up to you to form your own opinions about what I've shared here. If there's something that you'd like to share, your takeaway, your thoughts, your criticisms, your support, whatever that may be, please leave that down below in the comments. I really do want to hear from you all and hear what your takeaways were. I hope that this does not damage your trust or respect for me, and I hope that you will continue to follow me on this journey as I move forward as a solo project with the Wizard Factory 2.0. If you have questions or you'd like to seek more clarification on what I've shared, also please drop those comments below and I'll do my best to answer those. All I can do now is move forward, integrate those lessons, hard-earned, and vow to make this platform better than it ever was before, and continue to grow the reach and impact of the Wizard Factory, and through that, the amount of lives that hopefully that I can help in that process. So I truly am excited for the future. I'm feeling really good about it. I hope you all will join me on that journey, and I will see you in the next video. But until then, be empowered, be inspired, and be encouraged.